Today we're going to talk about the 2026 AI shift, how to get your business recommended by the AI assistants, brought to you by Heaviside Digital. So, depending on how old you are, you may remember back when the Yellow Pages was the primary way that your customers would find your business. And then a number of years ago, that transitioned from the Yellow Pages to the internet. But that change took place over a couple of years. It wasn't rapid. Now we're seeing this happen again, but with AI displacing internet search results. But it's happening much faster. And so what was true 3 months ago isn't really true today, and what will be true 3 months from now, we don't know, but it's going to be different. And so this is something you should be paying very close attention to, and that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, so let's get right into it. Today we're talking about the AI visibility blueprint, how to win in an era of ChatGPT and Gemini. So I'm getting asked about this a lot more. We're seeing it become increasingly important. So let's discuss kind of the current state of knowledge, understanding that this is early to middle January. What I'm talking about here could be completely different in 3 months. So this is current. It could change. Things are moving fast, but this is what we're seeing so far. Okay, and one thing isn't quite happening yet, but it's coming, is the death of the blue link. This is really organic SEO as we've known it for a very long time. We are seeing customers asking AI. ChatGPT and Gemini are the two big ones. For a while, it was ChatGPT. Gemini is kind of rapidly eating their market share, which is not a huge surprise. But what we're seeing, and this shouldn't be surprising if you think about it yourself, people prefer getting a single trusted answer over browsing lists and digging through web pages. So AI models currently prioritize structured authoritative data over keyword stuffing. Okay. So why this matters now is it's growing fast and people are using it and people are finding customers there. And so you've got to get on this. You've got to take it seriously. And you want to be an early adopter here. You don't want to be the guys who were still asking about the Yellow Pages 10 years after everybody moved to Google, right? So this matters. We got to be focused. And so you want to understand how AI thinks about you, more particularly your business. And AI and Google's been doing this for a while too. This isn't really new, but it's really a matter of entities. And so, it's not a URL, it's not an optimized page. It's what are you as a business? And how does AI or Google figure this out? Well, there's a couple key things that are very important right now. First is your official business profile. Or, we're local businesses, we serve customers in our area. So one of the key data points is your Google business profile. Another one is consistency across directories. These are the good old citation links that you've been hearing about for years that fell out of favor a little bit, but they're important again. Not that they ever stopped, but AI finds them to be important also. What we also find is third-party validation or listicles. And these are kind of being abused right now. I'm not sure this is a long-term tactic that's going to stick, but it's something that's working now. And then technical metadata or schema. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to sound very much like what you've been doing for SEO for a while. And that's true because it is. And it's important in the same way, and these same approaches are going to help you in the short and probably the long term. So if you think about the five pillars of visibility, you've got your identity, which is your Google business profile, the sync, or how consistent it is across the web. That's the citations and the consistency of your name, address, and phone in those citations. Language, and this is schema markup, metadata, just machine readable things. Content, this is covered up here, but it says conversational FAQ authority, frequently asked questions. And validations are listicles and more broadly, third-party trust. Okay, so if you work in all these areas, you should see success in these AI things. Okay, so pillar one, the master signal, that's your Google business profile. The same recommendations that apply to SEO apply here. So keep it up to date. list your services, include photos, make weekly updates. Just be present, treat this as a valuable property, keep it up to date, make it full. It's an important source of information. And then the sync factor. So here's 67 or 67%. If you don't have consistent citations, you introduce doubt. This was very important in Google several years ago. They've gotten better about it. But for AIs, it's important too. If you have several different addresses, but you really only have one real address, that confuses these things. You don't want to have that. You want everything to be consistent everywhere it's found to the extent that you possibly can. Obviously, the big areas are more important: Google Business, Apple Maps, Yelp, Bing. But the more the merrier. The more you show up, the more places you show up where everything's consistent, it is going to help you. And you must have consistent name, address, phone, identity everywhere. For every location. If you have multiple locations, you got to make sure that's reflected in this information as well. You have to learn to speak the language of AI, and this is transient. This will probably change. But what seems to be important right now, and this is understandable, is schema. So what is schema? You've probably heard about this. This has been important in local SEO for years, but it's code on your website that tells Google, or AIs now, and keep in mind Gemini is Google's AI, it tells them what entity you are. Are you a local business? Are you an organization? What's your address? What's your hours of operation? Think of like the key facts that describe your business. That should be encoded in the schema, and it should also point to third-party things to validate it, like your social media addresses. So that's what schema is. It's been important for local SEO and maps in Google for a while. Now in AI, we're finding that it's especially important now for that. What's also important is conversational content. So if you think of the old way, and I don't like phrasing it that way because SEO is not gone, it won't be gone. All it is how do I help my customers find me on the internet? We call it SEO. Search engines will morph and change. It will still be SEO. We might just call it something different. The fundamental need for connecting businesses with their customers isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, but what is changing now is, instead of, say, highly optimizing a page for a specific keyword, that's not going to be as effective. What you really need to start changing your mindset to is, I need to explain what I do in conversational tone, and these machines and these algorithms very much like conversational, frequently asked questions content. And understand why. Because it's crafting responses to questions customers ask of it. So when you present the answer in your content, you are helping the algorithm, the machine, the large language model, provide the answer that their searcher, their user, is looking for. So begin adding FAQ, frequently asked questions sections, and structure them logically in the HTML. So use natural tone, write like a human, structure like a machine, right? It makes sense. Long tail focus means, focus on specific problems. So, if you're a plumber, address when you might need to get a new water heater and why, right? Things like that. Talk about that stuff. Try to solve the user's immediate need in the first sentence. So you want to be brief. You don't want to write 50,000 words. You want to be direct, but complete and helpful. That's how you want to think about your content. And then external authority. So just logically, and Google's worked like this for a long time. They still use backlinks. Backlinks still matter. Backlinks matter for AI also. But what the large language models, what AI is also doing is looking at the actual content. And they're, right now, if you're on best of lists, they're going to believe that. Even if you post them on your own site, believe it or not. Now, it's better if you post them on third-party sites, but right now, as of middle January 2026, listicles are very helpful for establishing your external authority to large language models as believing you are a source worth presenting to their users. Okay. And then hyperlocal targeting. This has been important for local SEO for the maps for quite some time. It's especially true for the large language models, who, if you want to think about it, they're really just machines that are trained on the internet, understand the internet and all the information that's contained in it. It's like a super library or a super encyclopedia, but it's not looking things up. It's taking all information and then predicting what the next words are. If you don't understand what AI is, they're not looking things up in an encyclopedia. It doesn't work that way. It's trained on all the knowledge available, and then it's statistically predicting what comes next based on the inputs. It's kind of crazy what it does given that. But so when you say it understands, it doesn't understand anything. It's just a interesting technology that has all this information encoded in it that predicts what's likely based on what's input. Okay. So when you're working on your website, you want to make the content in there hyper local, in the sense you want to talk about where you are, what's around where you are, landmarks, neighborhoods, parks, things like that. It helps the AI understand where you are. And this has been true for Google Maps for a while. It's also true for these large language models. Okay. Things that we're starting to see are advanced schema-as-a-Service. So, and this is something that we're helping our customers with now. This is very new, but mapping your schema and your listicles and things to different places on the internet that we know that the AIs look. Okay, so this is like the new, how do you help get better results now? Well, publish your schema, publish your listicles in places that they're likely to look. It's going to give you an immediate local boost. Will this last 3 months from now? I don't know. We'll see. But whatever's working 3 months from now, we'll know what it is and we'll be on it, because things are changing faster now in terms of, lead generation for customers on the internet than it has in a decade or more. So our job is to stay on top of that and make sure our customers are able to stay on top of that. And those who watch our videos and follow what we do, that they can get this information too. So some common mistakes to avoid: set and forget. As I just mentioned, it's changing too fast. You can't do it. If things change, if you move offices, you open a new office, you got to update everything to include that. Don't ignore reviews. Reviews are super important for maps, also important for AIs. And this is a critical one. To the extent that you can, stop hiding your pricing. AI agents are becoming more active on the internet. Google is trialing this, where they will basically send out little robot agents. I don't know what we're going to call them, but that search the internet and find pricing information and return it for the user. So instead of you, the user, going to 5 different websites trying to collect pricing, the AI agents will do this. Well, if you hide your pricing, you're not going to get included in that query. So you're going to have to be clear about what services you offer. You're probably going to have to be very clear about your pricing. And this is going to become increasingly important over the next 3 to 6 months. Pricing is going to have to be transparent, or you're not going to get included in the searches. And that might be challenging for some industries, but we're going to work through it and figure it out. So keep this in mind, think about this, and be prepared to make adjustments. And briefly, we'll talk on the role of voice search. It really hasn't been a whole lot. There's been this great fanfare about Siri and Alexa, and I haven't seen it take off. I don't know how many people actually use it. I've never seen anyone actually use it that I know. But I do think that's going to change. And just myself personally, in the work that I do a lot of development for internal stuff for our company. I build internal tools to do these things. I do a lot of development and coding. And I've started using voice a lot more to direct my own AI agents. And I think people are going to start using this more as the voice search actually becomes more useful. And to the extent that these voice searches are integrated with these large language models, with this AI, and it gives these better answers, then you'll actually start seeing people use Siri and Alexa and say, hey Siri, who's the best plumber in the area? And when Siri uses an AI generated result and it's good, people will start using it. So all the things we've been talking about here still play into that, because these voice search providers will be using these same models and they will be returning the same information. So everything we're doing here prepares you for things as they change and as they grow. So to summarize, focus on the entity, optimize your business facts, not just your website URL. Be consistent, be the same everywhere AI looks. Provide direct, concise answers, frequently asked questions. Make your website a resource of information succinctly for all the services that you do. And build third-party trust, build links, build citations, get on lists, anything you can do to validate your authority to the AI. And that's it. I hope this was helpful. Pay attention to this stuff. It's changing fast. You are going to have to change along with it, or you risk being left behind. This is like the internet coming on and replacing the yellow pages, but it's happening like 10 times faster. So don't ignore this, or it's going to bite you. Thanks for watching.